everybody, this is Samantha Denefe with Arkansas Catholic and Your I.D. And today I want to talk about saying no. Saying no when Father approaches you and asks you to now be in charge of or part of like the 10th ministry at church. This happens a lot. When I was in ministry, I might have done it some. Because we knew that busy people love their parish and they get things done. So we go to our go-to people over and over again. But we really shouldn't. The minister shouldn't, and you as lay people should be able to say, no thank you. But I know it's hard, especially when your priest comes. So how do you say no? Well, first off, we really need to back up. We need to look at your prayer life. What is it like? Are you going to God with your prayers, with your thoughts, with your desires? And are you allowing Him to talk to you? Now, when you have that prayer space carved and set aside, where you go into that space with God, anytime someone invites you to do something, you need to take that to God and say, is this part of the plan that you have for me? Because here's the thing, guys. You need to do what God wants you to do. And that's where you will be most fruitful. That's where you will be fulfilled. That's when you won't be crazy busy. Because God doesn't want that. He wants peace, right? Busyness is not peace. Our goal here is peacefulness. It's a fruit of the Spirit, right? Or I think it is. I might have just made that up. It's quite possible. Anywho, peace, Jesus, good stuff. So you want to take that into prayer and pray about it. Now, to help direct you, I would highly recommend going through something called Called and Gifted. It's a great program. It's being offered around our diocese in Arkansas. I know there's some great programs in Northwest Arkansas, and there's some great programs down here in Central Arkansas that help you determine what are your gifts. So it has a list of several gifts. Mine would be like evangelization, teaching. It's got stuff like mercy, writing, all these things. And what you do is you take an inventory and then you discern what are your gifts. Now, once you've gone through this, it makes it really easy to say no. Because let's say that a father comes up to you and he says, would you be in charge of social justice? If your gifts are in teaching and evangelization, you could easily be like, yeah, no, because I know pretty clearly that God has told me this is the path of my life. And social justice, you really need someone with a charism of mercy, maybe administration, those kind of things. And if they aren't your gifts, pretty quickly you'll come to see that that's not what God's calling you to. So how do you say no in the moment when He asks? I would always say to Father or the minister, let me pray about it for like 3 days. My spiritual director got on my butt because I was saying yes to everything, and she's like, no more yeses, 3 days of prayer. It was very helpful. So take 3 days, pray about it, and then come back to Father and say, hey, God talked to me in my prayer time, and He said no. And when you say that, most of the time your ministers and your pastors are going to be overjoyed because they can see that, number one, you have a prayer life, and that's awesome. Number two, they know that you're serious about that commitment, and so when they ask you for another commitment and you say yes, they know that God's hand is on it, which is so important. So don't be afraid to say no, especially if you've taken it into prayer. It makes ministers and Father really, really happy if the no is, God said no. So I really want to encourage you, don't get overwhelmed in ministry. Don't be involved in too much. Only do what God is asking you to do, and let the other people out there who God is calling do what He's calling them to do, if that makes sense. All right, so say no and yes to what God wants you to do. All right, this is Samantha. I'll see you guys next month.